He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that continues to celebrate the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Today is this modified version of Saints Friday. We're going to have Jeff Duncan on in just a second. And in the second half of the show, we're going to be talking with Hunter Easterling and Lindsay Mitchell. We're going to talk about the Coast Young Professionals. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. So without any further ado, let me bring my friend Jeff Duncan in. He's covered the Saints longer than anyone else on earth. He writes for The Athletic, and he's a former colleague at New Orleans Times-Picayune and NOLA.com. How you doing this morning, buddy?
Hey, Ricky, I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Hey, I wanted you to know, I know that you've been working on a particular story for a few days, and you may have missed this, but I had our friend James O'Byrne on Monday, and we spent an entire hour talking about the history of news and the challenges of news today and why news is so, reliable news, trustworthy news is so important to a democracy. And I'll send a copy of it over to you so you can watch it. But as usual, James knocked it out of the park. We're lucky to have someone like him to call on, even if he's in France.
Yeah, he's like, I'm so envious of James and Paula for picking up stakes and moving to rural France and living this amazing life. And yet he's still on the pulse of everything going on over here. He's an amazingly talented guy. I'm fortunate to call him a friend, and I will definitely listen to that if you send me the link.
Yeah, it's really a terrific conversation. Hey, I wanted to share something with you, Jeff. This is a friend of mine, a Facebook friend. His name is Gene Gaddy. And he wrote something. He said that this is an exercise that will benefit people. And here's the exercise. I think it's a good one. So here it is. Once a day, take 5 minutes to write down 3 good things or 3 blessings that happen in your day. Then go one step further and reflect on what it is about those things that you're grateful for or made those so good for you. Doing this exercise, even over the course of 2 weeks, once a day, will allow you to begin to recalibrate your gratitude lens, the way he calls it, so that you will start looking out and seeing more gratitude because that's what you're looking for. And then he shares his 3 things. Good health, great family, the ability to play music, and mainly in church. He's a great piano player. And I thought about mine. What am I grateful for? Well, I'm very similar to his, actually. Good health. I had a visit with the doctor yesterday, for a matter of fact, and everything went fine. A wonderful, loving family. I'm so fortunate to have my family. And then I would say, the opportunity to do Coast View, this ability, this blessing that I have to be inspired by people every single day is something I'm super grateful for. What do you think about when you think about things you're grateful for?
This exercise, Ricky, is actually one that when I was recently on a story with Steve Gleason, something that he practices with his family every night, his family and friends at dinner. He asked them not only what they were grateful for that day, but also what challenges they faced that day and how they addressed them. So I think there's a lot to be gleaned from that. And I would go along with you. I mean, being healthy in this day and age, I've got a lot of friends. I'm now in my mid-50s and a lot of friends starting to face some health challenges. So I feel grateful for that. And you mentioned your job producing Coast View. I feel the same way, getting to work in a business that a lot of people would probably pay to do some of the things I get to do. This will be the first Super Bowl I've missed in 20 years this weekend. A lot of people have never been to one, and I get to go for free almost every year. So I feel blessed and grateful for that. And then also just living in this part of the country where we live here in the Gulf Coast region. Not only is it usually warm, it's warm today, but also we have this incredible outdoors experience. And just like yourself, I love to get outdoors. I love to fish, and I can't imagine living anywhere better in the whole world than where we live down here in the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, my son Jordan came over last night. We keep our granddaughter Mila, and he and his wife came over to get the baby yesterday. And there was about maybe 15 minutes left, before the sun set. And he said, he came in with his boots on, his work clothes, grabbed the fishing pole, dropped one of the boats, and went and caught a 21-inch speck, in 5 minutes, you know.
Yep.
You know, the opportunity to be able to do that. I mean, wow. I mean, that's what I refer to as living in the moment, you know, just taking it in and enjoying it for what it is. And, you know, we're so lucky to live where we live and, you know, in the central Gulf Coast of America. We're so close to so many wonderful, amazing things. And it's a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah, look, you know, I grew up fishing like for bluegill and crappie in rural Kentucky with my relatives. And then to find my way down to this area where we are at the mouth of the greatest estuary in North America, the most fertile fishing area in the entire continent. We're right at its heart. So, I mean, how can you beat that for someone that loves to get out on the water as much as we both do? We couldn't be living in a better place.
Hey, one more thing. There was a study that was released just in the past week or two from a company, a really innovative financial services company called Smart Asset. They touch tens of millions of people with their content. And the study they did was looking at the top beach communities in America, the most affordable beach communities in America. And they look at a bunch of different criteria. Four communities in coastal Mississippi made it on the list. 4. Number 1 was Biloxi. Number 2 on the list of like 281 beach communities. Number 2 was Gulfport. I think number 5 was Ocean Springs. And I think the next was Bay St. Louis, up there with, you know, Fort Pierce and Daytona Beach and all these amazing places. But it doesn't surprise you to hear that Bay St. Louis made it on the list, did it?
Not at all. I mean, I've been in love with that area for a few years now. Look, the whole area. I made the drive the other day when I was going over to the Island View Casino for that book signing, and just was driving along that Long Beach area and thinking, what other part of America has this open coast with the relatively affordable housing in that area? I think it's an undiscovered jewel. I hope it stays undiscovered to some degree. Because it's an amazing asset we all have here. We should all enjoy it. I lived in Florida on both coasts before moving to this area, and I can tell you they've got nothing on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi.
Well, you know what? I'm doing the show from right here in the coastal Mississippi studio. Proud to have them as a sponsor. And the coastal Mississippi tourism people often talk about our coast being the secret coast. So you said that really well. Hey, we'll shift gears now. We got the Super Bowl coming up. We'll get to probably in the second segment about what's the latest we're hearing about the Saints. A lot of news there. But, you know, with the Super Bowl coming up, I don't mind telling you, man, after like beating Tampa twice and then, you know, getting beat by them in the playoffs and to see them go to the Super Bowl, kind of makes me a little sick at my stomach, to be quite honest with you. I can't help it. I feel that way. How does it make you feel?
I'm fine. You know, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great game. Now, I heard just yesterday that there's some forecasts for potential thunderstorms in the Tampa area. That would not be good. I remember that Super Bowl we had, I think, when Peyton Manning won with the Colts and the driving rainstorm really puts a damper on things, especially with the pandemic only allowing about 22,000 fans there. But I think it's going to be a really entertaining, high-scoring game. I don't see how it can't be if the weather is good, because I think these two offenses are playing at high levels. And I think there's going to be some big plays defensively because of the way these two teams play that could lead to some scores. So, look, I'm not a sports bettor at all, Ricky. I've never done that in my life. But if I were a gambler, I would bet the over, put it that way.
I'm sure you would. You know, look, let's hand it to Tampa Bay. And one of the reasons why I might support them is simply because it's hard not to get behind the Tom Brady story. I mean, what an incredible story that is. But the team got it together, and their game plan when they played the Saints was so darn solid in every phase of the game. It was hard not to come out of that game at least respecting them. I mean, the competitive man in me makes it hard for me to root for. You know, if it were Atlanta, I'd be rooting against them for sure. Okay, there's no doubt about that. Tampa, it's not quite as bad, but you know, I haven't yet decided who I'm going to be for in that game.
Well, I think I agree with you. I think Saints fans in general don't harbor the same resentment toward the Bucs that they do to the Falcons. And just seeing the way Tom Brady handles himself, how he carries himself with class, I remember just watching him after the playoff game, after the game was over, and we were up in the press box working on our stories, and Drew Brees and Brittany were down the field with their children. This is an hour after the game, and Tom Brady was making his way out of the stadium, and he came over and hugged Drew and Brittany and threw a ball to Balin, Drew's oldest son, and shared about 15 minutes before he got on the bus. I mean, just you could tell it was genuine affection for a colleague and peer. And also, I think there's one other kind of subtle thing that I think makes the Bucs one to root for. They've got the most diverse coaching staff. I mean, Bruce Arians, hard not to like. He's got 2 women on the staff. They have a number of black assistants, including both coordinators. So there's a lot of like progressiveness to the Tampa Bay Bucs organization. And then one other little small factor that I'm not sure a lot of people know, Glazer's daughter lives in uptown New Orleans. She was a graduate from Tulane University. So one of the owners of the Bucs lives here in New Orleans.
Wow, that's so interesting. There's always all these sub stories and these stories within the stories. Super Bowl is interesting in that way for sure. This is Jeff Duncan. We're having a modified Saints Friday, and we'll be back after this break.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. We got to talk Jimmy Buffett.
One day at breakfast, he says, I started a new song. He says, about a night and a day in Key West, I played a bar and I got drunk, and coming home, I stepped out of my flip-flop, and I just kept going. I stepped on a beer can. And the next morning, I'm up and I'm hungover and I'm trying to make a margarita. I got some shrimp boiling. I can't find the salt. I said, Jimmy, I kind of like that. And he said, yeah, I think I'll call it Margaritaville.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on your local SuperTalk Mississippi station, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
The Lars Larson Show. On the left, they say that this president has divided America. No, the opposition, the resistance to Donald Trump is what has divided America, because Donald Trump said he would work with both sides, and he's shown that he would. But the Democrats, because they want to take a position that everything about Donald Trump is wrong, to a large extent, they have refused to work with him on anything.
The Lars Larson Show, weeknights at 6 on SuperTalk Mississippi. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a modified Saints Friday with Jeff Duncan from The Athletic. And we were talking about the Super Bowl when we went to break. And you know what's interesting, Jeff, and I think a lot of people do this, probably all around the world for that matter. The Super Bowl impacts so many people. Ann comes home with four gigantic slabs of ribs yesterday. And, I'll be smoking ribs for the day, and, family will be coming over. And, it's something to look forward to. I mean, I think people just generally enjoy Super Bowl Sunday, don't they?
Yeah, it's a huge sporting event. This will be the first one, like I said, in a couple of decades that I've actually got a chance to watch on TV. I'm usually there at the stadium. And if you're going to miss one, this is probably the best one to miss with the pandemic. There's not going to be nearly the pageantry that we normally see, but it's a huge event, not just the game itself, but all the commercials and everything around it, the entertainment. I mean, I can think of all these incredible acts I've seen over the years. I had a chance to interview Madonna and Paul McCartney and things like that. So it's an American tradition, really like no other.
I had never been to a Super Bowl before, but the opportunity to have to have a suite at the Superdome during the Super Bowl in New Orleans when I was publisher of the Times-Picayune, it was a terrific opportunity not only to entertain friends of the Times-Picayune, but all the parties. My goodness, there were so many parties. I remember the one I enjoyed the most was the GQ party. It was a terrific party, part of the company that owned the Times-Picayune at the time. But you really got a sense to see, and of course, unfortunately, they're not able to do this in Tampa the way that we were able to appreciate it in New Orleans. But man, all the stuff that goes on around it, just incredible. What a great economic boost for the city. So let's shift gears. Drew's going to probably be announcing his retirement in the next few weeks. I guess that's the current thinking. And you see the coach beginning to say things publicly about how much he wants Jameis Winston to come in and compete for the starting job. He means that, doesn't he?
Yeah, they really like Jameis Winston. They made no secret about that. They've had a chance to evaluate his work ethic and his leadership ability. Obviously, they see him in practice as well, so they know the arm strength. And I've not heard anything, Ricky, negative about Jameis Winston. I'm telling you nothing. Everybody seems to love this kid. Now, what does that mean? I mean, is that going to translate? We'll see. We heard the same things in New England this year when Cam Newton came in. I find a lot of symmetry here, right? Tom Brady retires. You have a former number one draft pick from the NFC South who moves on to replace Tom Brady. And now you've got Drew Brees doing the same thing a year later, a former number one draft pick in the NFC South replacing him. I didn't see a whole lot of difference between Cam Newton under Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. And I'm not sure we're going to see a ton different under Jameis Winston, but that's the hope, that he worked better in this offense than he did in Tampa Bay. I would say I'm reserving judgment on that until I see it for myself on the field.
Of course, as as we've discussed many times on the show, you wrote the definitive book, Peyton and Breeze, and with the forward, I might add, written by Steve Gleason. And so extraordinarily well how this offense works, and that you need a PhD in offense to run this offense. But one of the points that you've made is that at the end of the day, once they can take it all in, and the word on Jameis Winston, as you pointed out to me numerous times, is he's smart. He's picked up the offense quickly. Taysom Hill has done the same thing. They've been working in that offense for a while now. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to reading that defense, seeing these subtle things that happen, being able to make adjustments in the game, the decision-making in the moment. That's the thing that's going to separate the two quarterbacks, isn't it?
Yeah, Sean Payton used the analogy of being like an airline pilot, right? You've all seen in that cockpit and all those buttons, and airline pilots have to be able to think quickly and manage all this. That's exactly what a quarterback's like. And he said Drew Brees is a master at punching all these buttons and keeping the plane going steady. And we'll see if Jameis Winston can do it. There's obviously a lot of talent there. We know that. He can make every throw in the book. Can he process and avoid some of the game-changing mistakes that undermined his career in Tampa? The Saints are bullish on him, but they still also, Ricky, have to get him back. I mean, he's really an unrestricted free agent. There could be a market for him. There's a lot of teams in need of a quarterback this offseason, much more so than a year ago when he came to New Orleans. So what's the recruiting pitch the Saints are going to use to try and get him back under their umbrella? Because they don't have the money, salary cap-wise, to go out and get a big splash player in the open market. I think that's why you hear Sean Payton say, The successor to Drew Brees is in our building. And what he means by that is Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. One of those guys is going to lead this team.
Well, there's a lot of dynamics on the team, and we can get into those. I don't know if there's a headline you want to share with us, but I really want to get into the story that I think is going to hit today on The Athletic, the story that you've been working on for a week. But before we go there, just tell me, is there a headline that you want to make sure we hear as it relates to the Saints?
Well, I mean, they're filling out their coaching staff right now. That's what they've been doing all week. Sean Payton and his staff were off all last week. They couldn't go to the Senior Bowl because of COVID restrictions. So Sean and his fiancee, Skylene, they were down in Cabo in Mexico in a little downtime. Now they're evaluating the staff. We saw them add Chris Richard, a veteran defensive coach, to the staff to replace Aaron Glenn. He's probably going to replace the quarterback's coach this week as well. So I think that's important. I mean, putting together a good staff is vital to competing in this league, and the Saints have had a really good one for the last 4 years. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't have any names for you yet, but I've heard could be a big name being added to this offensive staff here in the next few days. Just kind of keep your ear to the ground on that one. So it could be a big surprise.
Wow, that's good to hear. Any help they can get in that regard is only going to help kind of move the ball forward, literally. So
nice.
So tell us what you've been working on.
Well, it's a fun Super Bowl story for me about Webster Parish, which is a kind of a remote parish up in North Louisiana, and it's the home of L'Jarius Sneed, who's a cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and also Devin White, the linebacker from LSU, who's from Cotton Valley. Two kind of country kids that grew up together, and now they're playing for a Super Bowl title from this little small rural parish in Northwest Louisiana. It's a really, really kind of fun story.
So when you go in that community and talk to people, I mean, I bet they're just thrilled that, the community is being put on the world stage.
Oh yeah, for them, this is the biggest thing ever. I mean, this is the home area from John David Crow, won the Heisman Trophy in 1957. But since then, they haven't had anyone reach this kind of profile. So for them, the whole community is going to be watching the game on Sunday. They're all wearing their jerseys at school. They've got T-shirts made up. One dream, two teams. I mean, just the whole community's supporting. This is one of the more impoverished parishes in the state of Louisiana. They've lost a lot of industry and companies over the last 4 decades as the lumber industry's kind of moved out and oil and gas has plateaued. So for them, this is a real sign of hope for some of the young people in the community, not just for athletics, but you can do something with your life. Even from Webster Parish, you can, if you put the work in, there's a reason to believe that you can make something of your life. So it's a really inspirational time for a lot of people up there.
So as we sort of end our time together today, you mentioned you would go the over on the game, the Super Bowl. So you're expecting it to be a high-scoring game.
Well, the reason I think that is because I know how these defensive coordinators work. Todd Bowles and Steve Spagnuolo, both very aggressive and both believe in their offenses. So they're able to be aggressive and attack. And I just think there could be some turnovers that also lead to big plays. We saw that in the NFC Championship game, right? Both quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, threw multiple interceptions. And I think we could see something like that again, some strip sacks. You've got some dynamic playmakers with Tyrann Matthew and Devin White and guys like that in this game. So I think we could see a lot of back and forth scoring, and I don't see how they can keep it in the 20s. I think this game is going to be up near the 30s, as long as we don't see these thunderstorms drench the area and really put a damper on things.
Yeah, the thunderstorm angle, I haven't heard that, but the thunderstorm angle does create, some reservations. But the reality is Patrick Mahomes, once again, on this stage, I don't think he will be denied. I just think he's such a playmaker. Maybe even with a thunderstorm, that at the end of the day, Tom Brady can't make plays like Patrick Mahomes. But I say that, then I look at what Tom Brady's been doing recently and think, well, they're a pretty good matchup, aren't they?
Well, he's gone through Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and now he's going against the best quarterback in the league right now. And I agree with you. I mean, Mahomes is just amazing. that game in the Superdome against the Saints, they played great defense for 4 or 5 seconds, and he would just run around. It was like sandlot ball and just make things up on the fly. And it's what makes him so difficult to defend. And that's why I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, because I think Tampa Bay right now defensively is playing lights out. I think they're a more complete team than the Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to run the ball on them at all with those linebackers, Devin White and Levante David. And I don't think they care. I think they're going to put it in Mahomes' hands and let him throw it all day long, and he might get it done.
This is Jeff Duncan from The Athletic, covered the Saints more than anyone else on earth. We'll see him next week. Hey, man, have a great Super Bowl.
Thanks. You too, Ricky. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next week.
We'll be back after this break with representatives from the Coast Young Professionals.
Coast View on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all of the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
When you listen to SuperTalk Mississippi, you become part of a statewide community of knowledgeable, engaged, enlightened, well-informed, hard-working men and women just like you, all eager to see the Magnolia State grow and prosper. There may be some disagreement on how to get there, but the goal remains the same, for each Mississippian to reach their American dream. Thanks for listening and being a part of the conversation on SuperTalk Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Perhaps you know a nurse, a physician, or someone who works at a hospital.
We're working around the clock to keep you, your family, and our community safe and healthy.
But we need your help. Wash your hands, maintain social distance, and most importantly, wear a cloth face mask.
When you wear a mask, you're protecting your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, and yourself.
Science and evidence must shape our actions.
Wear a mask.
Never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter. Has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And, all this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
When the pandemic hit, New York City was told to stay home.
But some homes hurt.
That's why when New York City stopped, we didn't.
Safe Horizon is here for you, with you, through it all.
Their shelters are still open.
Staff are working tirelessly on the front lines of the pandemic to keep people safer.
Because when home is where the harm is, safety is essential.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors here. The show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
The Lars Larson Show. On the left, they say that this president has divided America. No, the opposition, the resistance to Donald Trump is what has divided America. Because Donald Trump said he would work with both sides, and he's shown that he would. But the Democrats, because they want to take a position that everything about Donald Trump is wrong, to a large extent, they have refused to work with him on anything.
The Lars Larson Show, weeknights at 6 on SuperTalk Mississippi. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I really enjoyed my conversation with Jeff Duncan. Covered the Saints longer than anyone else on earth. Works for The Athletic. We worked together when I was in New Orleans. And he has so many awesome insights. There's always these stories inside the story as it relates to the Super Bowl. And as he mentioned, this is like the first one he will not have gone to in 20 years. So he's going to enjoy watching it on TV and seeing how the rest of us enjoy the Super Bowl. Now we're going to shift gears, and I'm going to invite my friends Hunter Easterling and Lindsay Mitchell into the conversation. Hunter actually owns his is co-owner of his own insurance business, and Lindsay actually works at the Gulf Coast Chamber, and we'll talk more specifically about what she's doing. But anyway, how you guys doing?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Hunter, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
Hey, one of the things I read, I had a friend of mine on Facebook. His name is Gene Gaddy, and he shared something that said, okay, it would help you if you every day write something down on paper about the 3 things you're most grateful for. And each day you reflect on it, then do it again the next day. And he said, if you do it for 2 weeks, then you sort of reset your gratitude meter, so to speak, because you're looking for the good. And when I thought about, well, I'm grateful for my health. Second, I'm grateful for an amazing family. Third, I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to do Coast View and talk to inspiring young people like you guys. When you think about it, I mean, what comes to your mind, Lindsay, when you think about the things you're grateful for?
Well, I am actually a new mom, so I'm pretty grateful for that at the moment. It's definitely been a total change in my life, which I think you can understand that since you're a father as well. But that's something I'm very grateful for. And of course, my health and family and the job that I get to have, helping inspire young professionals like myself every day.
Awesome. What do you think about Hunter?
Man, yeah, those are a tough one. Health and family, definitely 2 of my tops as well. But I'd say I'm very grateful for, the things I'm able to do, being a young leader on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and people I'm able to reach and the impact I hope I'm able to provide to others.
Yeah, well, good. You're the current president of Coast Young Professionals. And before we talk about that, because I have strong feelings about how the how important leadership is and how important leadership development is. We'll talk about that in a second. But tell me about your company, Southern Insurance Professionals.
Yeah, sure. It's a retail independent insurance agency. The company was started in 2019. by my business partner, Josh Goff. And so when the company was started, the biggest thing that he wanted the company to be focused on was really making our clients first. So, when we're speaking with somebody about addressing their needs for insurance and making sure their assets are covered, that's our top priority, along with delivering excellent customer service, which was exemplified from Hurricane Zeta. I'd swapped from being a mortgage loan originator to doing insurance in July, and told my business partner after the hurricanes, like, man, I don't know if this is for me. This is definitely a testing and trying experience, but we overcame and serviced our clients well.
Well, that's awesome. And Lindsay, you're a liaison for Leadership Gulf Coast, which is a subset of the Mississippi Coast Chamber. And you're also involved as a director of Coast Young Professionals. Tell me about what you do.
So, like you said, I am the director of Coast Young Professionals, but I'm also the liaison for Leadership Gulf Coast. So I have a two-part position. With Coast Young Professionals, that's, I guess, probably takes up majority of my time because Leadership Gulf Coast runs for 9 months, although we are busy outside of the 9 months as well. But I'm fortunate to be able to lead 2 different division boards and oversee the program of work that we put on for our members. They're very different, but they kind of work together at the same time. They're both great pieces within the Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber to develop leaders and to help bring leaders together. So, it's just a really fun experience that I get to do every day.
You get to work with Adele Lyons, who is one of the best community leaders I have ever worked with. We work together in the community. We've known each other for a very long time, but I was the chairman of the local Knight Foundation. She was the liaison for the Knight Foundation at the time. But, as you know, she's been on this show many, many, many times. She has a great finger on the pulse of what's happening in coastal Mississippi. And one of the things I talk about is that through the chambers and the Gulf Coast Business Council, it could be the Gulf Coast Chamber, the Hancock County Chamber, Jackson County Chamber, all the other chambers. There's always a focus on bringing leaders along. It could, in some cases, they're young leaders. Some of those might be new to the community, and we need to help them understand, how does the region work? How does coastal Mississippi fit together? What makes this area tick? I think one of our keys to success is that we're bringing young people into the conversation early, and one of the ways is through Coast Young Professionals, of course. So if I'm a new recruit for you guys, Hunter, what would you say to me that would make me want to be involved in Coast Young Professionals?
Yeah, sure. Coast Young Professionals, there's so many things that the organization offers. For me personally, it was getting engaged, just meeting new people. I moved from Brandon, Mississippi down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And we see that a lot, a lot of military transplants, others coming into the area. So it's a great way to meet new people, make new friends. We also, offer so much in terms of development for, professionally or personally. And, getting you involved in local businesses, hearing from business leaders, political leaders, and things like that. So it's really got something for everybody.
That's good. And he mentioned military families. Lindsay, you actually were born in Louisville, Kentucky, and your dad was in the military. And like a lot of transplants who came to coastal Mississippi, they came by way of the military. I talk about that all the time, that we're so lucky to have 7 bases across the state of Mississippi, 3 here in coastal Mississippi, not counting the Air National Guard presence. People retire here. They come here with their families. They stay here. That kind of tells your story, doesn't it, Lindsay?
Yeah, and Ricky, I'll tell you, we got to live in many, many very neat places. So my dad was in the Coast Guard. We were always on a beach. Can't beat that. I lived in the Florida Keys prior to coming to Ocean Springs, Mississippi. But we fell in love with the community and the culture, and my dad decided to retire early, and we were able to stay here, and I spent majority of my life here and now have created my career here, and hopefully will continue to grow here. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. There's something about the coast that just kind of draws you in, and you really just want to be a part of the community and help the people and learn from the people. So it's definitely
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss. I am
to the top,
darling. So I'm very
all 3 of us. Yeah, you mentioned Dixie Darlings. I just wanted to make sure we heard that. And you were also involved in the Student Prince the paper there on the campus. But, you know, I'm a proud member of the Hall of Fame for Southern Miss, and all my family went there except one son. I had one son that wanted to do his own thing. He ended up going to Auburn, but otherwise we all graduated from Southern Miss. And then my son Jordan went on to Ole Miss Law School. But we're proud Southern Miss alumnus, that's for sure. I'm sure you guys are as well. Mm-hmm. So Lindsay, when you think about Coach Young Professionals, from your perspective, why is that so important?
So to me, Coach Young Professionals, it's an organization that really not only brings together young professionals, but it allows, people that maybe don't consider themselves young professionals anymore, and a chance to learn what young professionals are all about. What is the new generation doing? How do they work? How do they operate? And I encourage people that are above the 40 years of age to join Young Professionals, because it creates a mentorship and it allows both parties to get involved and understand each other. But more importantly, it is a great way to develop these people. It gives them a space to have like-minded conversations with people, and it's just a really great way to continue the development of our young people on the coast.
Well, one of the things, when I became publisher in 2001 of the Sun Herald, one of the very first things I started was the Community Leaders Awards and the Top 10 Under 40, because I felt it was important. I had a great mentor. Roland Weeks was the publisher of the Sun Herald. He's the guy who was my mentor in most of my career. And we didn't have a Coach Young Professionals when I was coming up. And just so you can hear this, I often laugh at this notion, but Roland made me a director when I was only 26 years old. Now, I look back in those days, that was a pretty bold move on his part. I still think had he lost his mind. But today you see a lot of young people taking significant leadership roles here in coastal Mississippi. And what I believed strongly back in 2001 when we started the Community Leaders Awards was that this opportunity to hold young people up as an example for others to follow. So that those who look at their example can kind of follow in their footsteps and be human sponges about what is it that they did that made them so worthy of receiving this award. That what is it they did that I can do too to make my contribution to coastal Mississippi. We're going to continue the conversation with Hunter Easterling and Lindsay Mitchell when we come back from the break. But we're having a conversation about leadership development, Coach Young Professionals, and just, enjoying some inspiration from two young people who are really, really dedicated to coastal Mississippi. We'll be back after this break.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
The Lars Larson Show. On the left, they say that this president has divided America. No, the opposition, the resistance to Donald Trump is what has divided America, because Donald Trump said he would work with both sides, and he's shown that he would. But the Democrats, because they want to take a position that everything about Donald Trump is wrong, to a large extent, they have refused to work with him on anything.
The Lars Larson Show, weeknights at 6 on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam, as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. Norbert, Elvis.
And I want to tell you about Presley. He had two different voices. He would sit and talk to me in a very calm, low voice. And we were at Stack's one night, and we were having lunch. We always had lunch at midnight because he was nocturnal. We sat there and we have our sandwiches, and at 1 o'clock, he looked up. He said, "Hey, Pot, come on, it's time for me to go be home." And he stood up, and a much deeper voice, he put on his macho voice. "Hey, fellas, it's 1 o'clock. Let's get cracking, okay?"
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, Amazon Alexa, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
When the pandemic hit, New York City was told to stay home.
But some homes hurt.
That's why when New York City stopped, we didn't.
Safe Horizon is here for you, with you, through it all.
Their shelters are still open.
Staff are working tirelessly on the front lines of the pandemic to keep people safer.
Because when home is where the harm is, safety is essential.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi. When you listen to SuperTalk Mississippi, you become part of a statewide community, a community of knowledgeable, engaged, enlightened, well-informed, hard-working men and women just like you, all eager to see the Magnolia State grow and prosper. There may be some disagreement on how to get there, but the goal remains the same, for each Mississippian to reach their American dream. Thanks for listening and being a part of the conversation on SuperTalk Mississippi. Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Hunter Easterling, who is an owner and agent of Southern Insurance Professionals, and Lindsay Mitchell, who is with a Coast Young Professional Director, and she's also the Leadership Gulf Coast Liaison for the Mississippi Coast Chamber. And by the way, Hunter is also the president of Coast Young Professionals. So we're talking about leadership development and commitment to coastal Mississippi, the role that young people are playing in coastal Mississippi. So it's pretty amazing what they're doing. But Lindsay, let's come over to you for a second. One of the real benefits of doing Coast View is I get this chance to meet and have regular conversations with leaders, chamber leaders. One of those, of course, is Adele Lyons, who leads the Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber. And as I mentioned, I've worked so closely with her over the number of years, but she has such a good finger in the pulse. She's very strategic. She really knows how all the dots connect. The pandemic happens, and she leads you guys to a very quick conclusion, which is, look, we're not going to hit the pause button. We're going to be an incredible conduit for local businesses to understand how to navigate through the pandemic. And we're going to use technology to do that. So, and she's shared on the shows many times, the number of meetings and seminars and all kinds of things you guys are doing. Thousands of people, over the course of the year involved using technology. Technology's really transformed the way you do your work, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. Fortunately, like you said, Adele and the whole team transferred to doing Zoom mostly. We utilize Zoom, we utilize Microsoft Teams, just all different platforms to be able to get in touch with our members. and be present for our members. And during the pandemic, it was really important for us to not stop because nobody else was stopping, and we just had to figure out what we needed to do to, or everyone's favorite word, pivot. And so, we were able to put on several Zoom webinars, and a lot of them were things that were applicable to helping people at that time. So how do I get my stimulus check? What about the PPP money? Different things like that. And the same with Coast Young Professionals. We were able to continue our program of work through Zoom webinars, and we are still doing that today. We haven't quite made the change to in-person events yet, but, we're ready whenever the rest of the world is ready and whenever it's time and safe to do that.
Well, what is so interesting is that I'm in this unique position to be able to see how all these dots connect, the role the chamber has been playing to sort of help businesses through the process, or the other organizations like the chamber. And the result is that Mississippi, and if you go and measure the economic recovery since the pandemic hit, Mississippi is number 3 on the list. Number 3. That's how good Mississippi has done. If you look at tourism recovery and the innovation that's happened around tourism here in coastal Mississippi, down slightly less than 20%. The nation's down 50% in tourism. I mean, no one's satisfied with those numbers, but the fact is that our economic recovery in the face of the pandemic has been tremendous. And it's because a lot of business has been innovating. The chambers have been playing their role. Coast Young Professionals are playing. I bet if you come back over to you, Hunter, the conversations that you guys have around how how your cohorts are managing through the pandemic, that's even changed, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's everything changed. I mean, the way that we do business has changed. We usually, love meeting people face to face. Come in, sit down, let's have a conversation. And now, you just can't do that.
Yeah, it's definitely a new role for sure. So as we go forward, you got some key events coming up, Lindsay. Why don't you tell me about some of those events?
We do, Ricky. We have our CYP Launch 2021. So this is our annual meeting that we host every year. Last year was at the Biloxi Visitor Center, and we kicked off the 2020 year with all hopes, but it's okay. And so now we're kicking off 2021 on February 25th. And it's going to be at 4:00 p.m. and it's going to be a Facebook video premiere. So anyone can tune in at any time after that. But it will be very interesting to kind of gear up and give the goals of our year. And then after that, we are about to announce that we are doing our CYP Activate on March 31st. And that's going to be with Wendy Sweatman. And he's going to talk about the importance of voting in local elections.
Wow, that's good. That's really good. Hey, speaking of, you talked about you kicked off 2020, and then little did we know at the time the pandemic was right around the corner. Someone posted something the other day that says 2021 just said to 2020, hold my beer. I hope that's not the case. I mean, listen, here's the thing. I think 2021 is going to be a better year for a lot of reasons. I think, first of all, you probably have heard these numbers, but about 75 to 80% of people have to get the vaccine before we even begin to define what our new normal is going to be. And as of yesterday, only 2% have gotten the second shot. So, we've got a long way to go to bring it back. But one of the reasons why we're going to be better is because the Coast Young Professionals are engaging young leaders in the process. The chambers are doing their roles. Businesses have sort of adjusted to the realities of the pandemic and continue to share with one another how to survive in this situation that we're in. Even if we don't get to the new normal, whatever that is, on the other side of the pandemic in 2021, we're going to be in a better place because people are sharing and people are leading. And we're out of time, you guys, but this has been Lindsay Mitchell and Hunter Easterling. I really appreciate you taking some time with me today, and we'll visit again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Ricky. We appreciate it.
You bet.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
You bet, Hunter. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1.